Hi, Mike DePung here. So happy you've stopped by. I'm assuming that if you stopped by, it's because you're interested in healing, or you might just be interested in what I might have to say. But I'm going to talk about healing again today. I want to talk about healing in terms of how the collective can affect us in our journey of individual healing, but how our individual healing, without an overt way, but just in our individual healing, affects the collective in a higher life energy way. Ego has driven the has characterized the collective for thousands of years. And it sometimes interferes with the work we want to do within ourselves, because our own ego says, hey, you can't fight this. Don't buck the system. You might as well just resign. And if you resign, you might get a lot of fortune. You might be like the big rollers that are controlling things. And we have this sense then eventually that, hey, if I can overcome, if I can rule, if I can gain some kind of dominion, some kind of power over over the others around me, then maybe I'll be wealthy and happy, and maybe I'll get what I really want. And while you may not say it, the underlying statement there is screw everybody else. That's not hard energy. Screw everybody else is not hard energy. That everybody else might not have an effect over me, that everybody else's opinion doesn't matter. But in terms of heart energy of love, we don't think screw them, we think love them. That's heart energy. Now, I've been sitting on this for over a week, and it started last week during the day that was considered the Robbie Burns Day. Great Scottish poet of the 18th century. He wrote sometimes in a much earlier rustic northwestern Scottish dialect. And he wrote some very appealing poems in that dialect. And one of the best ones to me is called To a Mouse. I used to teach it in the classroom. It was one of the introductory poems. It was the introductory poem to the Romantic period, even though he was just a little before that. And he wrote this poem, To a Mouse. And I'm going to show you the connection between that initiated these thoughts that I'm having about this, about dominion and about ego, and about how it can interfere with our personal healing, but how when we choose heart, then that choice for loving self spills out into the collective, and it affects the collective in a positive, in a higher life frequency way. So here's the poem, To a Mouse. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Here's the setup for it, though. And I'm not going to read the whole thing for a couple of reasons. One is, the main one is that I need to approximate the Northwestern Scottish dialect of the 17th century. And my only hope of doing that in any way is that I did have a Middle English course. And I know vowel sound, the way the vowels might have sounded and sounded a little differently. But I want to make this point too. The very first verse that I'm going to read of this poem is written in the King's English of the late 18th century, of the later 18th century. And then you're thinking, and if you're in America, you're thinking, hey, the way the Declaration of Independence sounded, the way the Constitution is written, this was the time when he could have written all of the poems, all of his work in modern King's English, what we would consider certainly into the times of early modern English. About 1775 on is considered late modern English. So all of the works that we read from then on are very clear and understandable. So here's the setup. This farmer in the poem is plowing his field right before winter to have it ready for the next spring. and his plow blade cuts through a little mousie's house, and the little mouse jumps out and sees him. They see each other, and the mouse runs for his life. Or at least the poet assumes that the mouse is running for his life. And he gives that setup in a first verse written in that old Scottish dialect. And then he writes this, very clear, to make sure I think that nobody misses the point. I'm truly sorry man's dominion has broken nature's social union and justifies that ill opinion which makes thee startle at me, thy poor earth-born companion and fellow mortal. This is the focus. That man's desire to rule, by the way, capitalizes M for man's. That man's desire to rule has broken the social union. The social union is this, that we are all one, that we are all spirit, different expressions of spirit in different ways, but we are all a base level spirit. And he says, that this farmer who does this says, I'm sorry that we have exerted this. This farmer awakens to who he is, to who the mouse is, to the fact that all is one, and that we are all one, that we are all interconnected. And he says, hey, this crude thing, this crude mindset of we rule, therefore we can destroy. Ego. It's pure ego. If you want to awaken and heal, recognize ego in yourself. Ego has its function, but one of the things that it does that it should not have a function in is anything that it does to divide and put others down in that process is a choice for lower life energy. And it is a time, if we're doing that, if there's something in your life that's doing that, whether if it's even putting yourself down, that is the time when you need to call on heart. You need to look in the mirror, see that heart that is the true you, the heart that is in social union with the rest of humanity, with the rest of this middle world, all the creatures on it, all the elements upon it. We don't want division there. We want to choose for heart because that is a choice for healing. That's how we awaken to a healing love. And that's what we're looking for. Now, he goes on and the farmer goes on and he talks about the little mouse. And he says, hey, I bet you must have really worked hard to make that. And now I've ruined it. And it's going to get cold. And I don't even know if you have any hope of making another one before the winter comes. And then the last two stanzas come out like this. And it's very telling. He says, but Moose, thou'rt know thy lane, and proving foresight may be vain. The best laid schemes o' mice and men gang oft ugly, and lay us naught but grief and pain for promised joy. So he says, little mouse, you're not alone in proving, just like what has happened here, in proving that foresight may be vain. You build your house, and what happens? I come along and destroy it. So he said, the best laid plans of mice and men often go wrong. And they don't leave us anything except for pain and grief. When we thought there was joy, that this was going to be the solution for our happiness. But he's thinking like an ego-energized human. And as a heart-energized one, he says, wait a minute. In the very last stanza, he says this, still, thou art blessed compared with me, the present only toucheth thee. But I backward cast my eye on prospects drear, and forward though I cannot see, I guess in fear. He says, hey, little mouse, compared to me, you're blessed because you know how to live in the present. The present only touches you. You're gonna just go and start working and build another little house, aren't you? He said, but me, I look backwards and I think about the past and I think about what could have been, what should have been. I think about what happened, the choices I made and how it limits me, and their prospects drear. It set me up for failure. And then he said, and then I worry about the future. And even though I can't know the future, I guess all about it. I think what is going to happen, this is what's going to happen. And I get all afraid. He said, you don't have to worry about that. Do you want to heal? Think like that. Think like the mouse. The mouse is the one, not all the great structures of government and economies and societies and cultures that have predominated for however many hundreds or thousands of years. Think about the mouse. You want to heal? Think about the mouse. Because the mouse doesn't suffer in grief and pain. Is the mouse perturbed? Probably. I don't know. I can't describe. But just looking at it as a fellow spirit expression, the mouse says, I'm going to build a house because that's what's good for me right now in the present. So the question is, if we want to heal, can we accept now? Someone wrote to me after the last video, and they said, how can I heal from this grief? And you know, there's a grief that is ego energized that says, there's no getting over it. This person I loved is gone. Just gone and never will come back. And I look on that past, and this is the way it's ended up. And I can't get out of it. I can't break out of it. Grief that is heart energized allows me to love right now, to love that which has been a loss, whether it's a person or a thing or an experience or a lifestyle, it allows me to grieve that which has been lost. And I even wrote this over a week ago in my journal, and I just want to look at it for a second here. It allows me to love in the reality of that loss. Even though it's lost, it doesn't mean I have to stop loving. I don't. I continue loving. But it's not a love that buries me. It's a love that helps me to move forward. I can acknowledge it with heart-energized grief. I can acknowledge that loss has occurred, that my life experience is going to be different now, but that the love continues. And I can accept this, and I can allow new love, not of somebody else, but new love, a new brand of love, love for myself, to help me to move forward, to paint a new picture of life. I can use grief as an ally, not as something that, once again, is something that, because of the way the collective has taught us to think, I have to have dominion over this grief. I have to beat this grief. No, it's an ally. Invite the grief in to allow it to show love, to work love, to propel forward in a new life of new expressions of love. Hey, and if it's a person that has gone on, that has transitioned, you have resurrection connection now. It's a new relationship. It's not a lost relationship. It's a new relationship. So this grief that's heart energized can encourage me. It can help me to move forward in love, and that love feels so much better than rage. It feels so much better than hopelessness. Love is the end. Now, sometimes, I will admit, in terms of the collective, bring this back now to the collective and how the collective idea of dominion, of humans are superior, we rule, we can use the earth the way we want. We can pollute the water and the air. We can wipe out species because we are able to do it. We'll figure out a way because we're smarter than all that. It's almost past the point of no return in some ways. It will never be actually that, but the way some people think. And I don't mean it will be actually that in terms of we won't wipe out the type of life we know now. But ultimately, dominion's not the question. The earth will continue. We may not. And so if you choose to engage in this way of thinking, of that I can rule. I have a right to do it. I have a right to make as much money as I can, and that's for good because that's for my family. I have a right to destroy. I have a right to, and we don't put it in those terms, but it's like, I have a right to get the most I can. Even when we do some things in nations where we can vote. Uh, I'm going to vote so that I can keep the most money in my bank account. If that's the way you think, that you're going to have dominion, you're going to win. If you enter into this win or lose concept, that is not healing. It might make you feel good for a little while. It might give you some kind of happiness. But as it's been proven so many times over with so many notable people, it can be over in a flash. What I don't have a lot of money or notoriety or anything like that. But I do have, even in the times when I'm down, even in the times when I can't, like I couldn't bring this video to, I couldn't bring myself to do this video for over a week. I know that I am spirit. I know that I am spirit incarnate. I know that I have a connection, and I look up every morning and I do a little ritual ceremony, and I'm filled with gratitude and speaking to the unseens and to the elements of this middle world and the magical elements of this middle. I know it in a ceremony every night where I call in the same as allies to help me and that have helped me in this healing journey and continue to do so. And I see the immense value of all of this, of you and of me. And even though there are many, probably the majority, slim majority now, but the majority of the collective have not entered into heart energy of awakening to their own hearts. That doesn't mean they're not part of this. They are. They just don't have the joy. And I have the joy. Even in the down times, even in the grief times, there is joy in there. But at the base of it, underlying it, because I know where it's going to end up. Now, right now, I can say, stop all the past, stop all the future guessing. Right now, I am one with spirit. I am one with everything. I have all, am all. And that is healing. So when that collective energy of dominion, of I'm going to rule, and when we come to see that it's embedded in society, cultures, economics, governments, and there are some things that have sparked that have happened here in America that have sparked some of this. And there's no final judgment yet because the people involved haven't been gone to a court of law and been convicted of it. But when you see bare video of what happened to this young black man in Memphis, Tennessee, and you realize ultimately, even if they're found not, the people are found not guilty, they were exercising the power of dominion. I have a right because I have some kind of certification to beat the life out of this human being. That's dominion. That's not heart energy. That's not higher life frequency energy. That is lower life frequency energy. And now people are facing the consequences of that. Of course, one of the consequences is this young man had transitioned. Maybe he had a lot of other hopes. I don't even know. Did he awaken to his own heart? Was he ready? Was that the time that he went? I don't know. I don't have all those kinds of answers. I just have the answer to know that you have within yourself and I have within myself the ability to commune with my own heart, my true self, my deep self, my highest self, my spirit self. And you do too. And ego can't divide me from myself. If that begins happening, I call out ego for what it is. Hey, I recognize what's going on here. You don't get to do that. You can tell me other things, if there's danger around the corner. You can tell me lots of things. You need to have more money because you don't have enough to eat, or those kinds of things ego's good for. But I want to tell you that you have heart and you can heal now. And this idea of dominion, I see the news stories of Russia and what it's doing in Ukraine, and what Ukraine in response is what it needs to do to protect itself as a country, as a collective. But the systems that have put these kinds of things in place, the base of them were ego. The new ways that are coming, and I know they are because I know, the new ways that are coming are hard to envision because this idea of dominion, might makes right. And might is never right. But might makes right. Might is never right in terms of having to crush somebody to get what you want. When that's the thing that's in place, it's hard to envision heart ways. But it has to do with the balance of the divine masculine and the divine feminine, and realize that the masculine that has been expressed has not been the divine masculine, it's been an ego masculine and ego energized masculine. And we have to awaken to truth, our personal truth, which is found by looking into your own eyes in that mirror and seeing who you really are. And when you do that, and you realize love, it's love. It oozes out, spreads out, ripples out, maybe gushes out into the collective. And then you look at somebody across a battle line and you realize, hey, that's not it. That me killing this person, me hurting somebody else, whether it's financial, me keeping somebody from voting because we don't want them to be equal. We don't want other people to have as much as we have because I'm going to have less. There is no less when you're living in heart energy. I'm starting to get off where that led to lots of branches of this tree about dominion. I hope that what I've shared has some kind of significance for you. Take what is affecting you in terms of thinking about love and healing. I actually was given some cards. It's already 22 minutes in, and I really do need to run, but maybe I will share some other things about this in the week to come. But at any rate, what I wish for you is the joy of stepping into your own divinity, of realizing heart love, and of realizing that it's not about who's stronger, who can hold dominion. It's about, I'm all. I don't need to exert dominion because I am all. I am spirit. You are spirit. We are one. Love and peace till next time.